My fiance and I have a 9-month-old baby together. We have been in a relationship for about 2.5 years now and have been engaged since the summer. We are renting a 2-bedroom terraced house, which is small but not awful in any way. She does not invite her family or friends around because it's too small, etc., and instead goes around to see them with our son, as she is on maternity leave. I reject this as the majority of houses in our area are a similar size, and even her parents' house is the same size, just with a different layout. For reference, her family all live within the local town, and it is only around a 5-minute drive away for them to get to us. So this is quite easy to do. My parents live around 40 minutes away, so it is much harder to go visit them, especially in the evenings after I finish work. So, to get around this, I have asked if it is okay for my parents, who are the grandparents, to come around to the house so they can spend some time with their grandson, and also see me, their son. Every time I ask, she gets very upset and moody and generally makes my life hell, stomping around and accusing me of being obsessed with my mother. This is despite her going around to her own parents anywhere between 2 to 4 times per week, while I see my parents once a week, and as stated, it causes arguments when I do. She says that she is not comfortable with my mother because when she had just given birth, my mother gave us some printouts for various postpartum related topics like bottle feeding, breastfeeding, and also gave my partner some vitamins to help her. But I remember at the time my mother asked my fiance if she would like them, and she said yes, okay. However, now she is saying it was overbearing and feels like my mother views her as a child with her grandson rather than the mom. I disagree with my fiance on this as my mother was only trying to help and asked if we would like what was offered to us, following discussions from us. In the end, I gave in to my fiance and put boundaries in place with my parents, that we would try to see them once per week. And this is the new normal, despite her parents having around 2 to 3 times a week with our son. I did say that I did not think it was fair to my fiance, but she shut me off, telling me this is normal in families, to be closer to the maternal grandparents. Another issue is that my mother is an early years teacher specialist, and a couple of times while playing with our baby, she has made a few comments about his development. My fiance does not like this and views it as if the grandmother is judging our baby. I have tried to explain that this isn't the case, and my mother is just trying to identify our grandson's behaviors so that she can bond with him. I tried to resolve this by politely asking my mother to stop making these comments, which part of me now regrets because it has resulted in my mother being quite afraid to say anything in case it causes upset to my fiance. Kind of like walking on eggshells? All of this has recently come to a head this week. My mother had an accident and broke her arm and is due for an operation in a few days. My mother has my sister to help her day to day when she is not working but cannot drive. My father has been away in France and is coincidentally returning on the day of my mom's operation as a foot passenger. The hospital is in the town where we live, so I've offered to pick up my mother from the hospital after I finish work and bring her to our house for approximately 2 hours before my father arrives from the airport, and my sister can drive her back to their house. When I told my fiance, she became very upset and suggested that my mother should wait at the hospital until my father gets back. Or alternatively, I should drive my mother back to the house and that my dad should get a bus with full suitcases after a full day of travel back from France. We got into an argument, and I told her that they are close family and they are welcome into our home to help them out when they are in need. She said it is a bad time to host guests in the evening because we are weaning our baby and he can get upset. But it is okay for my fiance's parents to be around in those situations, albeit at their house. I pointed this out to her and she made some mocking voices about my mother sitting on our sofa, unable to help while our son is crying. I held my ground in the argument and told her this was happening, and if she is not happy, she should deal with it because it is tough. Family should be welcome in situations like this, and it is not like I ask this of her constantly. She proceeded to storm out of the house and go for a drive somewhere. When she returned, the arguments continued and I lost it and shouted at her, asking why she has a problem with my family, which I now regret, but I was pushed to the edge. I told her that as this is an ongoing problem in our relationship, I want us to go to a relationship therapist, and she responded very negatively, telling me that was a red flag for the relationship, and she is done with our relationship because I said that. My partner has suffered from an hurtful partner when she was 17, 18, and it sadly left her with anxiety after the court process. She went through therapy, but I think it was not successful and she gave it up. So she now has decided that she will not try to resolve our situation and completely refuses to compromise or understand my feeling that I want my parents to play a part in the grandchild's life, and also not to have arguments and feel controlled when people are welcome to come around. She has told me she is done with our relationship over this now, and that she just thinks we are too different in this sense, and that I should have known this is her personality before deciding to have a child with her. Although this is not a fair comment either, as there was no indication she would act like this before we did. I really need some help and advice on what to do next. I do want to try and salvage my relationship with my partner for the sake of our child, but I also want her to stop the way she acts, with not respecting that I would like to see my parents once a week, and for our son to see them too, and the endless arguments it causes when I try to make a plan to see them or for them to pop around for a cup of tea. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Okay, so first things first. Be realistic. Your fiancé is on maternity leave and home alone with a baby. It is perfectly reasonable and healthy for her to get out of the house to see her family. It's good that she has that support. Your parents simply will not see the baby as often. That's life. Things do not always have to be fair. Your fiancé is 9 months postpartum. That's not easy. Seeing your parents once a week sounds like a reasonable outcome. She wants a boundary with your mother. Your mother has made her feel uncomfortable, and if there's one place we should be able to feel comfortable, it's in our own home. I can completely understand why she's frustrated that you invited your mother over, A, knowing your fiancé wouldn't like this, and B, without even discussing it. You reject this. You disagree. You told her this was happening, and if she is not happy, she should deal with it because it is tough. You lost it and shouted at her. I can see why she's done. Comment 2. Are you working that day? Can you get time off to be with your mom? Can your fiancé take your child and stay with her mother for those 2 hours? There would be a conversation with your mom as to why the fiancé and grandbaby isn't there. But you can handle that. Your mom needs to be comfortable, not waiting in a hospital waiting room for 3 hours with a surgically broken arm. Your wife needs to be comfortable. She can visit family for that short period of time. If neither of these works, drive your mom home. Have your sister or a friend stay with her. Drive back and pick up your dad, and drive him home. Then drive back to your house. It's a lot of driving for you, but it's another solution to get you through that difficult day where the only one put out is you. You can address the fiancé situation when you don't have a mom post-surgery, dad returning from a trip, and a wife not allowing your parents in your home. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around for this update. Things have been very eventful lately. After the whole mess with my mom's accident, things just spiraled. My fiancé, she's been acting strange, more distant than ever. I thought maybe it was stress, with the baby and all. But then I found out she's been seeing someone else. Yeah, someone from her past, an old flame who's been just a friend for years. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I knew we had our issues, but to go behind my back like that, I confronted her about it and she didn't even deny it. Said she needed someone who understood her, someone who didn't push her all the time. That hit me hard. I thought I was doing the right thing, standing up for my family, for my mom. But now, I'm not so sure. Maybe I pushed too hard. Maybe I didn't listen enough. And then, as if that wasn't enough, my sister called. She's been having trouble with her husband, and she needed a place to stay. I told her she could crash with us for a bit. I didn't think it would be a big deal, but my fiancé lost it. Said I was always putting my family first, that I never considered her feelings. It turned into a huge fight, and she took the baby and left to stay with her parents. I've been trying to reach her to fix things, but she's not having it. She says she needs space, that maybe we're not meant to be. I don't know what to do. I love her, I love our son, but it feels like everything I do just makes it worse. And now, with my sister staying here, it's like I'm living in a pressure cooker. She's always on about her own problems, and I'm trying to be supportive, but it's a lot. I'm juggling work, trying to mend things with my fiancé, and now playing counselor to my sister. I made a choice, though. I decided to give my fiancé the space she wants. I told her to take as long as she needs, that I'll be here waiting. I thought it was the right thing to do, to show her I respect her needs. But deep down, I'm scared that she won't come back, that I've lost her for good. I'm trying to keep it together for my son's sake. But every night, when I'm alone in that too quiet house, I can't help but wonder if I've made a huge mistake. If maybe, and just maybe, I should have fought harder, held on tighter. Thanks for reading. Aita for feeling neglected. When my boyfriend cancels plans to hang out with his ex, I, 41-year-old female, have been dating a 41-year-old male exclusively for almost 2 months. He asked me to be his partner 3 weeks ago. He has a job where he travels and works a lot. He has been very open about how he needs alone time to recharge and how he needs at least 9-10 hours of sleep every night. I respect this and try to be as accommodating as possible. But here's my problem. He will go from work to one of 2 bars to hang out with his friends nearly every night. His job requires a lot of social meetings where he is networking or impressing a client. When we go out, we always go where he wants to go. We eat what he wants to eat. The date begins and ends when he needs them to. If I want to stay longer than my slotted time, it's very clear it's unwelcome. He has been very blunt about keeping this boundary clear and present. This weekend, he was on a work trip. Friday night, I asked him to call me to say goodnight. I feel not great about the fact that I have to ask for this. He said he would. Then he said he would if he was done with the party he was at in time. He didn't call. The next morning, he tells me he was at the party till 11, and then went to a bar with a former coworker to talk about her life until 4 a.m. He had a pretty important work function the next day. I roll with it and say nothing about how that makes me feel, especially when I'm fairly certain he would, or he stayed with me until 4 a.m. Saturday afternoon, we were texting, and he just stopped about 4:45 p.m. I texted him we needed to talk about some things when we have dinner Sunday night. He didn't respond till the next morning and asked me what we needed to talk about. Right now, our relationship is not meeting my emotional needs. I need to feel wanted, and like spending time talking to and being with me is a priority for the person I'm with. I want to feel like they are excited to see me and to talk to me and to be with me. Neither of us has a ton of free time, but I prioritize seeing and talking to him. I'm flexible and amenable to whatever works because being with him is a priority for me. I follow up and follow through on the things I say I'm going to do to show him I care about his feelings. I don't feel like I'm getting that in return. I haven't dated anyone since I was in my 20s. Is this the way it is now? What do I say to this man? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You aren't compatible. You need more from him than he's able, or most importantly, willing to give. This isn't anything against you. He seems like he isn't in a space where he can have a serious relationship. You seem like you definitely are. I am also early 40s, but married, and I would be in the same situation. It sounds like it's time to move on, and I would definitely not date anyone who is out of town the majority of the time again. And I would definitely be more scrutinizing of someone who wouldn't give you what you need. You don't want to settle. This is your life too, not just his. You want to be happy. Comment 2. It's only been 2 months, and he's been clear about how rigid he is and what his priorities are. He expects any relationship to exist on his terms and according to his schedule. He doesn't prioritize his romantic interests, and he isn't going to start. Instead of waiting for him to be the kind of person you deserve, you should cut your losses and recognize that you'll be better off without settling for his scraps and perpetually feeling like you're in 6th place on his to-do list. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around for this update. So, things have been pretty wild lately. Remember how I mentioned my guy's need for alone time and his endless work parties? Well, it all blew up in the way I didn't see coming. We had planned to have dinner on Sunday night to talk things through, but he canceled last minute, saying a work emergency popped up. I was frustrated, but I let it slide. Then, out of nowhere, his ex shows up in town. Apparently she's back for good, and guess who's been showing her around? Yep, my guy. He says it's all innocent, just catching up with an old friend. But they've been spotted at those bars he loves so much. And not just once. It's like he's on a reunion tour with her while I'm left on the sidelines. I tried to be cool about it, but when I saw a picture of them looking cozy on social media, I lost it. I confronted him and he brushed it off, saying I was overreacting and that I should trust him. But trust is earned, right? And here I am, feeling like a fool for believing his every word. The kicker? His ex is now working with him. They're teaming up on some big project and he's over the moon about it. Says it's a game changer for his career. I can't help but feel like I'm being edged out, not just from his personal life, but from his future plans too. And then, as if things couldn't get more complicated, I found out through a mutual friend that he's been telling people we're just casually dating. That hit me hard. Here I am thinking we're building something real, and he's out there downplaying what we have. It's like he's keeping his options open, and I'm just an option, not a priority. I've been trying to piece together where I stand in all this. It's like I'm in a game I didn't sign up for, and the rules keep changing. I've been accommodating, understanding, and patient. But it's like none of that matters to him. It's all about what he wants, when he wants it. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I showed up at one of those bars unannounced, and there they were, him and his ex, laughing like there was no tomorrow. He was shocked to see me, tried to play it off like it was a business meeting that ran late. But the look on his face said it all. I didn't make a scene, just walked out, feeling a mix of anger and shame. I'm starting to see the pattern here. He's been manipulating the situation from the start, making sure he's in control. And I've been letting him because I thought that's what you do when you care about someone. You give them space, you trust them, you try to be the cool partner. But at what cost? My self-respect? Now I'm left wondering what my next move should be. Do I confront him again? Lay it all out on the table? Or do I just walk away from this mess? It's clear I'm not getting what I need from this relationship. And I'm just now realizing that maybe I never was. Thanks for reading this far. Aita for dumping my older male friend after his sleazy antics and disrespect for my relationship? How can I, 34-year-old female, break up with a friend, 60-year-old male, without a good reason? I have reasons, but I keep telling myself they're not legitimate. That said, I'm committed to this. My friend, 60 years old, divorced, happily a bachelor, works in healthcare, and his son lives with him. He and I met on a dating app, casually dated for a few months, then transitioned to just friends. He's been financially supportive through the years and took me on lots of trips. Never romantic or physical. Reason 1, he is immature and throws fits when he doesn't get his way. This includes being stuck in traffic, cut off by another driver, told he can't check into a hotel room early, slow restaurant service. The worst for me was when he thought he'd booked seats next to each other on a flight. But the gate agent told him that wasn't the case. He yelled, huffed, called them names. I grew up in a household with lots of yelling and shut down when people yell. It is embarrassing, but more. It's so against how I treat people or my version of appropriateness. Reason 2, he doesn't express any interest in people I introduce him to. When I introduced him to my best friend, he monologued about his experience in her work field. He's never worked in her industry and asked 0 questions about her. That's been the same in every other situation. That'd be fine. But I don't like keeping my friends separate or having to manage everything in every conversation and then apologize for someone. Reason 3, he says things I find very degrading about women, to me and to people I introduce him to. When I worked up the courage to introduce him to my boyfriend, he talked on and on about how he's taking young, hot girls he met on dating sites on vacation, and also how they're crazy, unreliable, selfish. It isn't for me. I'm not criticizing who he is. We just aren't aligned, and I find it really uncomfortable and ironic for someone who preaches women's rights and voting liberal. Reason 4, my boyfriend feels uncomfortable with him. Reason 5, this isn't a reason but added detail. He doesn't have any other friends. He has temporary girlfriends, but they all write him off eventually. Or, if it's a seeking arrangement type situation, the agreement ends. I don't want to go into all of this with my friend. I don't think he will see what I see, and I don't want to hurt his feelings. If I thought he'd be open to hearing it and it could help him, I would. But I have never seen that be the case. What on earth do I do? ETA. Just sent him a voice note that our friendship puts pressure on my relationship with my boyfriend. and I have to respect and be loyal to him and our future. It is uncomfortable to say, but I want to be clear, etc. Because that's only fair. I chickened out and didn't say we will never be friends again, but I said what I said. Thanks for y'all's help and candor. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. So you dated an old man, he started paying for you. It never went anywhere. And you are still talking to him under the guise of friendship while you have a boyfriend? This whole situation is weird and crazy. He still likes you and is holding out hope. You're just going to have to tell him you're moving on or ghost him. Don't accept money and trips from guys either. There are usually expectations attached to that, and taking them is misleading. Comment 2. It doesn't have to be a grand announcement OP. Slow fade. You're suddenly very busy. All the time. Texts are one-word answers. At some point, he will pointedly call it out. The answer? I've been busy. Be boring. Be busy. Be short. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around for this update. A lot has happened since the last post. So, the guy I was trying to break up with as a friend? Things went from bad to worse. After I sent that voice note, he didn't take it well. He showed up at my place unannounced, demanding to talk. He said he didn't understand why I was doing this to him, that he'd been nothing but good to me. I tried to stay calm, but inside I was freaking out. I didn't want a scene, but I also didn't want him in my life anymore. Then, out of nowhere, he dropped the news. He told me he was moving across the country, said he'd gotten a job offer he couldn't refuse, something that would finally give him the respect he deserved. I was shocked. Part of me was relieved, thinking this would be the perfect way out of our friendship. But another part of me was worried about what this meant for his son, who'd be staying here for college. The next few days were a blur. He started packing, selling stuff, and getting ready for this big move. But then, his son got into some trouble. Nothing major, just some college kid stuff. But it was enough to make my friend reconsider. He was torn between this new job and being there for his son. In the end, he chose his son and turned down the job. I admired that, but it also meant he was still here, still a part of my life. Things got even more complicated when my boyfriend found out about the whole situation. He was upset that my friend had come to our place and that I hadn't been able to cut ties completely. We had a huge fight about it, and for a moment, I thought I might lose him. But we managed to work through it, and he's been really supportive since then. In the midst of all this, my friend's attitude started to change. Maybe it was the job offer or his son's situation, but he began to act differently. He was quieter, less brash. I saw a side of him I hadn't seen before. It made me question if I was doing the right thing by cutting him off. But then, he did something that reminded me why I wanted to end the friendship in the first place. We were at a mutual acquaintances party, and he started bragging about a new young woman he was seeing. It was so disrespectful, and it made me so uncomfortable. That was the last straw. I pulled him aside and told him we were done. No more friendship, no more contact. I was firm, and this time, I didn't back down. He left the party without a word, and I haven't heard from him since. It's been a month now, and I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. My boyfriend and I are doing great, and I've been able to focus on my relationships with people who respect me and my boundaries. It's been a hectic ride, but I'm glad it's over. I hope he finds what he's looking for, but I'm done being a part of his search. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.